Welcome to the Fundraising Elevator, where we're all headed up. This podcast is a production of Swaim Strategies, a consulting firm dedicated to nonprofit fundraising events. We're coming to you today from the studios of the AV department. Please welcome our hosts, Kristin Steele and Samantha Swaim.
Hello and welcome to the Fundraising Elevator, where we are all headed up. We are here live at the Nonprofit Storytelling Conference, where we have two special episodes coming to you. Our first episode today is going to be an opportunity to talk to a lot of our speakers. We're going to be hearing words of wisdom, all brought to you from the speakers at the conference. We're talking to them first about where are they finding inspiration in the sector. So let's get a quick look at some of our experts and find out what they have to say.
So, Ken, the sector can feel a little daunting right now.
Correct.
Where are you finding inspiration?
Well, I find inspiration internally, number one. So I'm a spiritual person, so I have that internal. Number two, I find inspiration. Inspiration means to bring in the spirit. That's what it means. And I find it from watching, especially young men of color, grow in this field. Yeah, I have a passion for that field, and I've done a lot in that. And so when I watch individuals deal with the setbacks and do the comeback from the setback, watch resilience, watch growth, that inspires me. It's not so much the external world. That is always going to be interesting, we'll just say that at this time. But watching individuals in my chosen field grow just puts a smile on my face.
I couldn't agree more.
I'm finding inspiration in the people that I'm talking to here at the conference. Just yesterday during my presentation, I asked how many of you are checking in with your clients ahead of time, and so many hands went up, and I was like, yes. You've all done why are you here? Like, you all did your homework, right? Like, I am seeing this shift towards more ethical storytelling practices. I like to say that ethical storytelling is a journey. Some of us have been on it for a long time. Some of us are just getting started. But wherever you are, what matters is that you're on it.
Yes.
And so that's really where I find inspiration, is that people are really starting to rethink how we engage clients in the storytelling process.
Oh, that's interesting. I would say that most of my inspiration doesn't come from the nonprofit sector right now. I would say that I'm trying to read interesting books and listen to interesting podcasts and apply various ways of teaching and different ideas and bring them into fundraising to illustrate concepts.
Yeah.
That's what's happening for me.
Is there something right now that you're reading that is inspiring to you?
Oh man, so I'm going through a bunch of books. Let's see, I find Seth Godin endlessly fascinating as sort of his ability to frame what it is we're talking about. I pay a lot of attention to, because I think a lot of times in fundraising we talk around some things, we don't name some things, and putting those things sort of warmly in front of us to look at and wrestle with and talk about is really, really helpful.
I think
There's some
great.
authors here at the conference that I'm reading that I'm excited about. Tammy's book just came out.
I know that, but I've not yet read it. I'm
very
excited too.
about that. And then Chirian has a book coming out in just a few weeks.
Awesome.
So
Another guy.
To add to your reading list.
Yes, I know. And both those people are very good at what they do, and they're good communicators.
Yes.
So those books are going to be helpful.
So I'm actually going to say some really small nonprofits and the people who work at them.
Yeah.
I do a free call every month, and it's kind of the same group of people. They call it their support group. We call it the Better Together Call. And it is, it's not a webinar or anything like that. It is, hey, what is working? What are you struggling with? We're going to brainstorm this together. We're going to encourage each other. And let me tell you, when you are a small nonprofit with very little budget, you got to get scrappy.
Yeah.
And they are so passionate, and they wear more hats than anyone else. And they are often running programming and development and marketing. And I'm so amazed by their passion and their drive and their creativity and what they're bringing to the space, and going, no, we aren't just going to send direct mail appeals, because one, we don't have the budget. So what can we do that's going to move hearts and move minds and get people to care about this work that is so important?
That's amazing.
So I do need to follow up with that, though. What is working for these small, scrappy organizations? What are you hearing from them that's working?
Yeah. So one thing that we talk about a lot is creating catalyst experiences. So we can't deny that we live in a digital first world, and people are first going to engage with your brand and your mission online. So long before they ever walk through your doors, if they do it all, they're going to walk through the front door of your website. They're going to see you on social media. They're going to engage with you there. And so often nonprofits fall into talking at their audience.
Right.
Telling them what to do, what to think about, instead of talking with their audience or bringing them into these catalyst experiences. So we talk about these catalyst experiences. It's these moments that people can't turn away from, that cause them to lean in, that cause them to pull in. So let me give you an example. A really small rescue mission that served the homeless. They had very little budget. A guy named Brandon Thomas said, hey, we got to get the word out. We want more people to care. We want it to feel like that proximity of you're sitting on a bench with someone and hearing their story. So he said, hey, we're going to do 24 hours sitting on a bench outside, not to mimic, let me be clear, not to mimic the experience of what it's like to be, to experience homelessness, but to have conversations. And in that 24 hours, he had over 70 conversations, politicians, pastors, community leaders, clients who've lived at their shelter, sat down on the bench, and they had real, raw conversations. And people were tuning in from all over their little town, all over the state, started to tune in. This started to pick up. This year, we launched, it's called Conversations on a Bench, and over 100, close to 100 rescue missions that all did it at the same time, having real, raw conversations on a bench and just streaming it live on their social media platforms, on YouTube, where people were tuning in. And I strongly believe storytellers are the architects of the future.
Yeah.
They are, the stories we tell can change policies. They can change the future. And whether you call yourself a storyteller or not, we're all telling stories.
We're all storytellers.
Right?
Yes.
Yes. And so now people who maybe had a perception of what it's like or why people are homeless, they're listening to these stories and they're going, that's not what I thought.
Right.
And they're getting engaged in a way they hadn't before.
The inspiration is in people and in real connection.
Yes.
Connection's easier than it ever used to be. You can connect on many levels.
Right.
Whether it's on social media, whether it's virtually, whatever it is. It's what, and I know, because the data shows us this. People are desperate for real, genuine connection right now. Not being able to walk through this hallway without, which is wonderful, with people stopping you, holding your hand. Notice this the next time you're kind of out and about, is how much appropriate and good touching there is going on, of people holding hands, of patting each other on the back, of hugs that are almost awkward, right? Because we are all in some way really desperate and needing this connection on deeper levels. Yeah. And we need in times like this to exercise our agency, and that's how we exercise agency is by finding true, deep, meaningful connections, because it reminds us that we matter. And that's what we're looking for. Somebody tell me that I'm important, that I matter, that this is significant, that I'm not just another voice, and that I'm not the only one feeling this way, or whatever it may be.
I have to say, people's creativity. Do you know what I mean? I remember we came into COVID. I remember sitting with my kids and saying to them, in times like this, which are difficult, we need artists.
Yes. Yeah.
And we need people creating. The world needs art. And I feel that even more in our sector these days. Yeah. I was in Holland a few weeks ago, and we were talking about something like decision science, which is quite nerdy. But we gave people 10 minutes to creatively try to solve a problem with these new skills we taught them. And the ideas they came up with in 10 minutes were absolutely brilliant. So I said, if I could hire all of you right now to create a new agency to do this very thing, I would, because these were brilliant. And I thought to myself, my God, we gave them 10 minutes and a free open space to just be creative and think without judgment, without, oh, you can't do that here, or that's never going to work.
Right.
We didn't do any of that. And I was so moved creatively by what they came up with. And I want everyone I work with to express themselves in their work. Because we know when we're in the garden or we're in our kitchens and we're making stuff, we are expressing who we are. We're telling ourselves a story. We're telling our family a story about ourselves by the things we plant or the things we eat.
Yeah.
We're expressing ourselves. But at work, it's like we can't find the space to do this. But if we were all able to be more artists in our work, our donors would feel it. We would feel it. You know, everything we would do, we'd have more passion for. We need a lot more artists in our sector right now.
I want to ask you a follow-up to that, because you wrote a book that is here at the store that I have had many organizations tell me unstuck and unlocked their creativity.
Yep.
Can you talk about that book real quick?
The book, which I think it's all gone. There's like one copy left. Creative Deviations. Yeah, it really was. It was a love note. I was inspired by the late, great George Smith and his book, Asking Properly. And there hadn't been a really good book on creativity. I'm a teacher. Naturally, my dad was a teacher. And I like to inspire people and show people, like empower people. You can try this. It's like decision science. Forever, it's like up here. It's been created by the intellects, and it's up here and inaccessible. And I'm trying to make this stuff accessible so we can go, that's a cool thing, and I want to learn a little bit more, and I'm going to try that and see what happens. That's creativity.
Yeah.
That's trying things. So, like, I wrote a book about creativity and how to do direct response and really feel like you can flex those muscles in a safe space. And like I say to people all the time in my sessions, if you want to do it and don't show anyone, just keep it to yourself. I want to see it. And so, again, I have the beautiful privilege of people email me all the time. The stuff I get in my inbox of things people have tried at their charities and their appeals to their donors, or just on their own over a glass of wine, brilliant.
I love it.
Absolutely brilliant. I could do a book just on that stuff.
That would be amazing.
That would be amazing.
That would be
Fantastic,
super amazing.
Yeah, so.
Oh, it's tough right now.
It is, but we're
It's
looking
so tough.
for that silver lining.
You know, like, I'm really excited. There's again, I'm going to lean into some technology. There's some really great nonprofits out there that are just changing the game, and they're doing different things because their budgets are changing and everything else.
Yep.
They're fine. Like, you know, there's a nonprofit that during the pandemic, this is one of my favorites, FarmLink, which was fascinating. It was kids in college saw the problem of everyone standing in line for food during the pandemic and everything else, and the whole supply chain was messed up in the food network and everything else. And they said, hey, what if we take farmers directly to people who need it, cut out everything in the middle.
Love it.
And so, like, there's some really great charities like that aren't doing the same things that we've always done just because we've been told this is the history, this is what the books tell us. And I'm going to get a little spicy, where I really do think fundraising pre-2022 is different than post-2022.
Absolutely.
We can't do, and I hard to say that I'm a fundraiser because I'm not a fundraiser post-22. I'm a fundraiser in the old ways, but we have to adapt, and we have to now, and that's what I'm excited about.
And that adaptation is fast right now.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, and you were just talking about innovation requiring risk.
Yeah.
And so encouraging
Were you
folks,
in my session?
I was.
Yeah.
And encouraging folks to occupy that space of risk means that it can also be a place of reward.
Yeah, it is. And it's like you have to be bold. You have to be challenging. You have to take those problems and see what is out there in front of you. But you have to do that.
It's kind of hard not to turn and look anywhere and say, how can I help, right?
Yeah.
There's so many opportunities to really dive deep with people. And, you know, you just, when you see what's going on in the world and you have the heart to help, which I know you all do, you really dig deep into yourself and say, what can I do?
Yeah.
That's what happens. And then that turns into all sorts of inspiration to go and do the work, right?
Yeah.
It's really where it starts.
Honestly, it's like folks like you. When I get into spaces, I'll be honest, when I came into the sector, I learned a lot of the harmful practices, especially in regards to how you talk about the communities that we work with.
Yeah.
And I remember a specific incident where we used a heavily deficit framed story to talk about one of our students, our clients. She got a hold of it and she was upset. And that really shifted my whole perspective on we need to honor our communities. And so that's when I started to do more sessions around community-centric fundraising, ethical storytelling. And that was really the shift. And now I feel what inspires me is when I get to be on stages where I get to spread the message on these sessions, talking about personalizing, the way we communicate. That's what inspires me, is when I see people and they have the aha moments. They're like, I never thought that was a bad word to use. And so that's what really inspires me, is when I get to share the message and the people respond to it. And it's like magic.
You said something interesting I want to flag. Deficit-based language. It's something that I think that we don't talk often enough about, but it's the specialty area for you, is how to shift that language to be asset-based. Can you talk just a little bit about that shift? Like, where and how are you directing or the reframe for folks?
Yeah, so a big thing that I feel like I'm really good at is language. And so even small shifts in language make like huge waves.
Yeah.
So think like at-risk youth. Historically, we use that phrase. Honestly, what color of the skin are those at-risk youth? They're typically going to be black and brown. That's what we think. So just stop saying at-risk youth. Just say youth. And it shifts the way we think. It shifts the way donors hear it. And so that's an example of how you make these small shifts. Another one that often comes up is when you say like underserved communities. Underserved is a deficit frame word, and when it's connected directly to describe a community, like people, we make those associations and we start creating judgments on these folks.
Yep.
But if I say people from historically under-resourced regions, I'm using a deficit frame word, under-resourced, but it's connected to the region.
Not to the person.
Not to the person.
Yep.
So those are, like, again, very subtle shifts that make a huge difference.
Well, even in the way you introduce yourself, you identified that you see yourself as an architect of relationship, and that's a conscious choice of language.
I barely made that switch because I had it, and this is just recently, I had it as master of relations, but master has a very negative connotation, and where it comes from and how that word even came to existence. And I was like, I can't have this word up there describing myself. So I made that change, and now I used architect of relations.
Well, and there's so much power and potential alienation that comes with language choice.
Oh, absolutely.
And how do we create less distance to create more empathy, and what can that look like?
And I think it's important to note as well, Kristin, that language is continually shifting and changing. So even what I use today, 2-3 years from now, I may need a pivot, and that's okay. It's just we want to make sure that we're using inclusive language, that everybody feels like they belong. So that's the other thing I wanted to share.
People. I always, people are paramount to me, and I'm getting the most inspiration by people. You are two of the people that inspire me, and other leaders that are just showing up in extra ways. We all are carrying a lot of weight right now, and I feel like in our sector, we have the spirit of generosity, and the spirit of generosity is support. It's encouragement, it's conversation. We just had a conversation this morning that wasn't about fundraising, and I think that's what's inspiring me right now the most, is that in our sector, we really care about people. And that shows up first.
All right, we're going to take a quick break to be able to hear a word from one of our partners. And when we come back, we're going to hear more from our experts, being able to share with us a little bit about their best recommendations about what we should all be focusing on right now.
Ready for your hard work to yield more funds at your next event? Join us at Elevate, a nonprofit fundraising event conference designed to bring our community together and make planning successful events easier. Register today for this hybrid conference on March 3rd and 4th, 2026 in Portland, Oregon, or join us online from anywhere. This isn't just another conference. You'll walk away with battle-tested strategies, hands-on tools, and proven templates that top fundraisers use to raise millions. Your mission deserves fully funded success. Register today at swaimstrategies.com.
change. It doesn't happen on its own. It happens on purpose. Thanks to nonprofits that believe a brighter future is not just possible, but needed and deserved. And that connect people to causes and turn moments of generosity into movements. That's why Bloomerang is built for purpose, to raise the bar on what's possible and help every act of giving lead to more. Because when the bottom line is a better world, no goal is too lofty. Bloomerang, built for purpose.
Welcome back to the Fundraising Elevator, where we're all headed up. Thank you to all of our experts here at the Nonprofit Storytelling Conference. We wanted to ask them to share with us their best advice for what we should be focusing on right now. So let's jump into conversation.
So what are key opportunities you see as a fundraiser right now for nonprofits to grow their support?
Key opportunities, it's still going to be touches.
Yeah.
You know, I was listening to the gentleman before me, and I was 100 agreeing with him. So much of AI, and I don't want to go too much down that lane. There's many people that can. I have a company that does AI, so I'm very familiar with AI. But what I love AI is the efficiencies of AI. And what that does is allow you to spend more time eyeball to eyeball or Zoom to Zoom with the individual donor at any level. And so that's one of the things that I'm really trying to emphasize when I work with individuals is that, yes, AI can be more efficient, just like we've had tools all throughout our history of fundraising that made us more efficient and effective. But in the end, can you get in front of an individual and make the ask so that you can make them feel good about something they want to support?
Yeah. The time and relationship. How do we prioritize that and clear up the clutter? And technology can be a way to do that.
Yeah, it's just a tool.
Yeah.
In the end, it is a tool. In the end, you have to use the sum total of your experience emotionally as a human, as a living creature, to be able to relate and or to be able to understand. AI can't teach you empathy. It can't.
Yeah.
It's not its nature. So if you want to be empathetic, if you want to be understandable, it's the ability to look again, an individual, a family, a couple in the eye and say, hey, this is a plan or this is something we have coming up. Would you be interested in supporting us?
Yeah.
And that has remained effective for this 50, 60 years that we have, quote unquote, been doing fundraising at this level.
Nathan Chappelle wrote Fundraising AI, and he has a great quote about the fact that in the nonprofit sector, we're not going to be replaced by AI. We're going to be replaced by people using AI as a tool so that we have more time to be able to be in those relationships, those connections, those one-on-one conversations. So I think it's important as we look at those resources to think of what would we do if we had more space to be in community together?
Yeah, what would we do?
Yeah.
So we can free up 5 hours, 10 hours a week. How many more meetings? How many more phone calls? One of the most underutilized tools in fundraising, the phone.
Yeah.
You know, how many more touches can we make that are empathetic, that are from the heart to another individual?
Yeah.
Whether they're a thank you, whether they're an acknowledgement, a recognition, or an ask. How many more can you do?
Yeah.
Ooh, there's two things. One is building these long-term relationships with their clients, right? Because it's always going to come back to stories since the beginning of humankind. How do we learn fire bad story?
We keep having stories, right? Like our story doesn't just end in the one story.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think that's beautiful advice is keep following the story.
Yeah. But two is starting to incorporate AI into the work. You know, I've worked in-house. I know what it's like to wear 7 billion hats, right?
Yeah.
To be doing all of the things.
Yes.
And AI is like that support system that we all always wished for. All you got to do is start playing, be mindful of how you're using it. But don't be afraid. Like, that's such a huge opportunity for us as a sector for that labor support that we've always been needing but couldn't quite get to.
Yeah. For me, the critical juncture was when I realized I could drive instead of being driven. And I think that by AI, and I think that critical shift for me made it feel like I could start to play.
Exactly.
And I could start to explore what if. And what could that look like?
Oh, you got to be real direct with it.
Yes, that's right.
Like, that's not where we're going. We're going over here.
That's
there's still training that you have to do with it, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But that's kind of the fun part, too.
Yes. The feedback, the constant feedback loop.
Exactly.
That's right.
The feedback loop.
That's right.
So.
Do you have a favorite AI tool?
Claude.ai.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting because I was at a nonprofit leadership summit in which we had an intensive conversation about ethical AI. And so when you think about ethical storytelling and ethical AI, I love that Claude is a tool that has really centered human design, and it has been adopted. Their design model has been adopted by the UN as the AI human design model that should be applied. So,
ooh, Sam, with the knowledge. I just learned that from you.
Yeah, we love Claude because it has some boundaries and barriers to it, which have you utilized Practivated yet? This is my new favorite AI tool. Practivated, Mallory Erickson, who is a fundraising consultant and coach, was looking for a way to help people feel less nervous about making donor asks.
Yeah.
And so it's an AI tool, allows you to have a rehearsal conversation with your donor.
Yes.
But it encompasses ethical AI and ethical storytelling and ethical fundraising. So it has 3 beautiful boundaries that it places that gives you a great parameter to work within and get that practice as a first-time fundraiser to be able to feel confident before you have a donor call.
Love it. See?
AI.
AI.
Yeah.
Start to play.
Well, and I think what's so interesting is that I am continuing to talk to so many storytellers who are some of the chief cheerleaders around utilization of ethical AI, and that symbiosis, I think, is super interesting. Is how do we human better? How can we use technology to human better? And I do think that's possible, but I think it requires a constant navigation and a constant exploration and a constant sharing of notes. So I'm so excited to keep sharing notes with you to be like, I have no idea what's happening. Point me in a direction because I'd love to figure out X, Y, and Z.
Yes, exactly.
And I think people should do that. I think they should, as a group and as a sector, we should continue that conversation so that we're all elevated around it.
It's like, don't stop at just playing with it. Start to learn how it works so that you can be leveling, because there's levels to it.
Yeah.
You can have a conversation with Claude or ChatGPT or whatever the case may be, but you can also tell it who to be and how to act, to do ethical practices, and you can tailor all of this for your own organization. I'm working with clients and doing this now.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Right? Like we're creating like fundraising campaign managers. We're putting out like email welcome series, which is the way to human better, right? Somebody signs up for your newsletter and then they don't hear from you for like 6 months. It's like, no, let's get them let's onboard them.
Yes. Let's bring them in actually.
So all these things that we have always wanted to do, and it's faster, it's easier.
Yeah.
And
well, and a lot of our technology partners are integrating AI into the tools. Like you just talked about a welcome series and an email campaign. We engage with Feather. Feather is an incredible tool to be able to send out your emails and create that automation where you're able to make sure that there's that continual connection to your donor through a tool that is taking some of the busy work off your plate so you can be in relationship to donors. So I love
so that you can go pick up the phone.
It's a very tactical answer. We were going to ask you about a tactic, but I think AI is a great tactic.
AI is a great tactic. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh man, let's see. Getting rid of the myth of donor fatigue.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Say more about that first, because I think that's huge.
Getting rid of the myth of donor fatigue. Bust that myth for us.
Okay, so I'll try to do it in 60 seconds. Yeah. In my 30-year career of looking at lots of data, I've only seen actual evidence of donor fatigue in data once.
What was the occurrence?
The occurrence was when, we did an experiment with a large organization, had a bunch of donors, and just started talking to them more and more and more. And net revenue and donor retention kept increasing as we increased our numbers of communication. Every once in a while, you might get another complaint, but in exchange for that complaint, you got higher retention rates, and more revenue
Yeah.
until you get up to what feels like a massive amount of communication. In this case, it was 24 direct mail appeals a year.
24 direct
That's
mail.
2 a month, and I don't do a
It's
lot
2
of
a month.
math.
You
And
taught me that 8 years ago here at the conference, and it blew my mind. And yet, when our clients apply that, it is effective. When they are applying at least a monthly communication, if not
Yeah.
multiple a month, I mean, I do think it's a myth. And hearing your data behind it is like, bust that
It's
myth.
amazing. It's a myth. It's a boogeyman that sort of covers a lot of errors and sins.
Yeah.
To put it in one way, because it's easy to say, hey, we sent out this appeal and our donors didn't respond. Donor fatigue, you guys.
Right.
And maybe the
Yeah.
appeal was totally off topic. Maybe
Yeah.
maybe there was something wrong in the data and it didn't go to the right people.
Or maybe it was the only time you've ever communicated with them.
Right. Or it's the thing like you go quiet for 6 months as an
Yeah.
organization and then you send out a September appeal and nobody responds.
Yeah.
It's because you haven't done the work to be present in your donors' lives for 6 months.
Yes.
That's not donor fatigue. That's like not being around enough.
Yeah.
That's like the friend
absolutely.
who shows up, who you haven't seen in 5
Yeah.
years, and you're sort of expecting that level of intimacy that your relationship used to have.
Yes. I have had that experience as a donor. I've
Yeah.
been the donor who hasn't heard from an organization in a while. In fact, just last night, I haven't even told you, I received a communication from an organization I used to be very involved with and gave to regularly.
Yep.
And it was like, we would love to figure out how to re-engage you and get you back. And in that, I had this moment of like, oh my gosh, I haven't heard from them in years. And then that sort of like prompted my thinking of, oh, what have they been doing to steward and connect? And of course I dropped off the radar and haven't
Yep.
been giving any donations to them.
Yeah, right. And you appreciate their effort to try to re-engage. Like,
Yes,
good on
yes,
them.
Yeah.
But the sort of the seeds of ignoring you were sown there over a
Yeah.
handful of years, and those are hard to recover from.
Well, and I think,
So-
too, there's that idea on the organization side of once being a trend. So we
Yes.
sent out our September email.
Right.
It didn't get a response.
Yep.
Therefore, we're not doing email anymore.
Yes.
And
Yep.
because the trend is that's not working.
Right,
And yet,
right.
Yep.
do you find that there are average amount of tries for people that they can start then looking at that data being something reflective of what's actually happening?
Man, that's a very good question. It would really depend on how many email addresses they have before I could really think
totally.
critically about
Yeah,
numbers.
totally.
But it ought to be a handful of tries.
Yeah.
Right? My biggest piece of advice for organizations that want to grow is to not be so precious about each piece of communication,
Right. Yeah.
but to be really strategic about the overall amount of communication, because it's that overall amount that is really indicative of fundraising success. It's regular presence in your donors' lives, delivering value.
Yep.
And then assuming abundance, assuming that they can give more than one gift a year.
Yeah.
Assuming that they'd love to come to the event that you guys help them with and give to the June newsletter.
Absolutely.
And maybe even sponsor a thing. Great. So, but you have to have that assumption.
Yeah.
And then you have to be like, okay, hold on, we're not going to worry about this donor fatigue thing.
Yeah.
We're going to lean in.
Yeah.
And unless you lean in, people don't just drive by and give you checks.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I think right now we're seeing an opportunity in that communication too, being relevant to, it doesn't have to be perfect. It can be a little messy.
Yep.
If it's relevant to now and it's the news of now. I think people want to hear how our organizations are doing in light of what they're hearing in the news and the media.
Yeah.
And there's an urgency to like respond to that and not like wait.
Could I speak to that? 'Cause
Yeah,
I think so I've been doing some writing about this, and I think that my thinking is becoming more clear.
Yeah.
Most nonprofit communications are, for the most part, focused in terms of the timeline, are focused on what happened somewhere between 3 and 12 months ago, and a kind of unknowable future.
Right.
That isn't particularly defined. And we see the organizations that are the best at sort of raising money all year long, their focus on the timeline is always 4 to 6 weeks from today.
Yeah.
We're always looking at like what meaningful work is happening very soon that we can talk about to our donors and give them a role to play in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then when we're reporting, we talk about things that happened 3-6 months ago, but the timeline is narrow for individual donors. For institutional funders, for grants, for 3-year things, great, fine, look out further.
Right.
Yeah.
But
the people.
Right, it's. I want to know what's happening today in this organization that I care about, or this cause or beneficiary group.
Yeah.
Talk to me about what's happening right now.
Yeah.
Because that's how you accentuate a donor feeling agency.
Absolutely right.
And feeling a part of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Because it's this. Hey, this thing needs to happen next month. Would you like to be a part of it?
Right.
It's a totally different message for a donor to receive than. Hey, we served 357 people last year or whatever.
Yeah.
It's the way I'm bringing this down is it's the difference between we are and you can.
Oh, yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, that's good framing.
Right? Like the we are is we're doing this, we're looking at the whole continuum, all these things are happening, we've got it covered, it's great. Versus you can do this thing that's happening soon.
Yeah.
And it's a completely different conversation. And it's much more sort of inclusive, involving of the donor. And
I think telling impactful stories and telling the right stories in the right places to the right people. So often we make it all about ourselves. And people
I laugh
disconnect.
because it's true.
They do.
Yeah.
People disconnect. They use we and the name of their brand and our programs. And you hardly see any word, just you or the understood you. And here's how you can get involved and discover and be part of. And that's when you're talking at your audience. And so, but when people feel engaged, right? And yes, that actually can still be through an ad. And you are telling a powerful story.
Yeah.
It can be on a website. It can be in an email that feels one-to-one. But it's the difference of talking about yourself versus inviting them into a story versus going, recognizing, they already have a story going on in their head. They have a story about themselves and who they are, a story about the world around them and how they think it should be, about your brand and the problem you claim to solve. And if you're telling a story, you can enter into that story in their head. But so often it's just like, here's our program. Here's what we do.
Yep. Right. The lists don't stick. The stories do.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you're clearly in the right place being here at the Nonprofit Storytelling Conference.
I love
Talking to the choir bit here.
So all of the tactics and the strategies, and I really do differentiate between the two, that we're talking about at this conference this week, they're all true. They're all right. What methodology you're using, what channel you're using, how you're using it, all of the best practices and tips and all of that. All of that is absolutely correct. The question is that takes it to the next level is how do you use that to create a deeper, truer connection?
Yeah.
Because and again, the data really is telling us this. People are craving this mattering, this connection beyond belonging. Beyond belonging is the first step. I want to belong. I want to feel like I want you to notice when I'm not around.
Yes.
You know.
We do.
Creep. Right. So how do we use that in deeper ways to get past superficial and into real meaning?
Yeah.
Yes.
Especially because, I mean, we're all in mission-based work.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
We're not in widgets.
No, correct. And every single one of us that's in the nonprofit sector works for a mission that somebody else believes in.
Right.
There is somebody out there that goes, that's me, that's who I am.
Yeah,
of course I believe in rescuing wombats. That's what I'm all about.
And
right?
I want to rescue wombats, so invite me in. Let me be a part of it.
Yep.
And I'm not doing anything about rescuing wombats right now because nobody's invited me.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, I got this phrase from you and I crave it and I live with it now. Is this for me?
Yes.
Because this is the kind of the question that everybody's asking is this for me?
Yeah.
So for us in the nonprofit world, it's, yes, this is for you.
Yeah.
And you're invited into it.
Well, I've talked to a few people with this. The bar as it relates to gratitude is extremely low. I talk about my mother-in-law, Dale. I go through her mail all the time.
Love that. I love it.
And
it's so good.
The bar for gratitude is so low. She gets basically, and I say basically nothing in terms of gratitude for what she does for those charities. She's a normal $75 donor. She's not sexy on paper. No one really cares about her at charities. And she still gives. Yeah. She still gives, but that's what donors do, right? They're expressing their values that they give because it's how they see themselves as being good humans.
Yeah.
Like they don't need us for that. But if we took advantage in terms of reflecting it back on them, yes, you are an amazing human. Yes, it's obvious that you care about the people and hunger in our community. And thank you for doing that. Her giving would go like this.
Yeah.
She would put all of it into that, but I don't know why we don't do that.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So
The stewarding.
I find it aggravating. There's a lot, the competitive advantage for gratitude is extremely low. Or if anyone can spend some time being a little more creative in the way they ask donors for support, again, the bar is extremely low.
Which the funniest part about that is I think that's the most enjoyable part of the fundraising process is the gratitude, is the thank you, the follow-up call, the reach out. You get stories, you get people telling you why they give and what their connection is.
Yeah.
I would much rather be on the gratitude line doing the follow-up thank you calls than only making the ask.
Because it's not sexy. I mean, how many boardrooms have we sat in and we've had lots of people in this boardroom, all we talk about the ask. Yeah. We invest hours and hours and money into the ask. We spend none of it on showing impact to donors or gratitude. I remember talking to someone in this hallway, and she said the only thing that no one else had to approve was her gratitude stuff. But the bosses were quite happy at how big their program was going, and we were doing a great job, aren't we? Not realizing it was her work that actually was the result of that, like what she was doing, that made that program grow. Yeah. And I was like, on one hand, this is amazing. On one hand, I find this quite heartbreaking.
Yeah, absolutely.
So.
Diversification ad nauseum. And so I serve on the Giving Institute board. We see the GUSA report on an annual basis. We see FEP numbers, Fundraising Effectiveness Project. We see all these different things. Individual giving is on an all-time low. It keeps dropping year over year. But revenue for annual contributions is up. And it's great. Boards love that. Strategies love that. We like that. But I'm worried about the long-term value of those organizations. And so I'm thinking about the little guy, the $5, the $10, the $20 donor. Where are they going to be in 5 years, in 10 years, in 20 years? I'll share this random story. It just came to me, but it's my mission moment of the year. And so I ran a nonprofit organization for 10 years when I first came out of college. It was my college fraternity, the Sigma Nu, the large foundation. I have about 200,000 living alumni. I created a face-to-face program where we were going out there and meeting with donors face-to-face, asking for $10, $20 monthly gifts, whatever it was, over a 3-year period. And I met this gentleman at an event earlier this year, and he came up to me and he was like, "Hey, you don't remember my donor visit." And I don't. 25 years ago, I'm old. And he's like, you sat me down and he was like, "Hey, will you give to our organization?" And he's like, "No." And I came back to him. I was like, "Well, do you drink beer with your fraternity brothers?" Again, bringing it back to the mission. And he's like, "Yeah." I was like, "Well, would you donate a bottle or a glass of beer one a month?" So he did like $5 a month. And he did it for a year. And then the next year I came back to him and said, "Would you do $10 a month?" Then the next year, "Would you do $20 a month?" That gentleman shared with me earlier this year, he shared with me in January, that he has cumulatively gave to the foundation over $150,000.
That's awesome.
And it started with a $5 gift.
Yeah.
And he mentioned it to me, which is interesting. He mentioned it to me in passing. He's like, "Do not tell the person who runs the foundation because I want to see if they knew I crossed that 150,000 threshold."
That's right.
He was testing, right? And it was like, and I'm proud of that, but it's the long-term value of our donors. And I think that's what we're missing. We're focused on the big dollar gifts and we're forgetting about everybody else.
That sense of connection and community and belonging.
Mm-hmm. But also donors are giving us signals all the time.
Right. All the time.
You've got to be looking and listening.
Oh, 100%.
Wow, there are a lot of opportunities to grow work. Well, first of all, share what you're doing.
And or revenue.
Yeah.
What's that?
And or revenue.
Well, and more revenue. I think really what it comes down to, we've been talking about it already at the Nonprofit Storytelling Conference. We've been talking about it a lot, and it's the immersion. The immersion and the storytelling is where you can really start getting folks to understand more about what you do, because I think sometimes people forget to say what they do. They're like, they say, oh, this is what I do, but they don't share the mission as fully and deeply as they should.
Yeah.
And when they get a little more granular on it and that immersion factor comes through, now all of a sudden people feel it. And when you feel it, that leads to that more revenue that you're asking about.
Well, you work in fundraising events. We work in fundraising events. And one of the things that we've seen is that when organizations take that approach and go mission forward in their themes, in their storytelling, in their entire event arc, and they really lead with a sense of purpose associated with helping people better understand the work, the audience comes along more. There's a bigger engagement, the audience feels more invested, and then the giving and the support continues through that.
It's everyone too. It's your audience. It's your vendors. Your vendors even get more moved by the work you're doing, and then they get more excitable too.
Yeah.
But yeah, that immersion is so important because the storytelling, when it's right, it moves people.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, we've talked about it before. Our job as benefit auctioneers is to move people. Right? We've said that many times. That's the goal, is to move people to a place where they want to be a part of the work. So for us, I think that's so important. And I've learned a lot from these two over the years, and that purpose exercise you all spoke about yesterday is something that I've incorporated with my clients to figure out, why are we doing this? What is the point of this event? And it really leads to such great ideas for developing your theme at your event. So the purpose is key. You have to know why you're doing what you're doing.
Couldn't agree more.
I agree. You sit at a really interesting nexus, specifically at events around fundraising. What are the fundraising opportunities you see for organizations at their events right now?
You know, fundraising opportunities, well, I'm a big fan of less is more.
Yay.
Yeah.
Yay.
I mean, it's funny, people always ask me, the number one question I get is, how many items should we have in our auction? I'm like, you can have anywhere from 0 to 6. And they're like, 0? Yeah, you don't have to do an auction, friends.
Right.
And that's coming from an auctioneer, everyone. You don't have to do an auction.
Yeah.
It's so transactional. You're going to have about, well, depending on how many items you have in your event, you're going to have maybe 5% up to 10% of your room engaged in that.
Right.
Okay, so your return on investment there, great, but you don't have the engagement factor for everyone, which is why the appeal is so important. And that is the number one thing I talk to people about. We don't talk about your items first. We talk about your appeal story and how we can share that narrative out to your crowd to get them invested in the work you're doing.
Yep.
And I think that's been a game changer. I do a lot of events that have no items. Many events that we don't, many with you, that we just do that appeal.
Well, that's definitely been a trend that we've seen, moving away from the transaction, the stuff. There's actually a shift in generational giving where younger donors are more interested in the mission and direct impact of mission. So that paddle raise, that direct ask for cash is definitely a transition we've seen in the event space.
And the thing that's also interesting about that is when you really start thinking about it, the great wealth transfer is underway, right? So if you're still focused on your boomers and not so much on your zoomers, you're going to lose them before we start shifting in the generations, right? So you have to think about, how can I engage everyone? Yes, the boomers want a silent auction. They are big on stuff and things and all the, can I bid on that, right? But the younger generations, they want to know, how can I impact the world in a better way? Yeah. And when we see that, we want to foster that. Yeah. And that's the direction of fundraising, friends. It is going in the direction of how do we get to the impact of the work that you're doing, because that's what they care about. They don't need the items. There's a lot of stuff going on, but think about those folks, because it's not just about items and stuff. It's really about connection and relationship.
Yeah.
Items aren't immersive.
How do you mean support?
That's what I'm saying. I think it can look a lot of ways. I think it can look
like donor support.
It can look in terms of relationships. I think it can look in terms of fundraising and financial buoy. Like, from where you're talking to organizations right now, where are you seeing opportunity?
I'll call the elephant in the room. It's been a heck of a 2025.
Yep.
So I think where I'm finding my best space is collaboration.
Yep.
Finding people. I'll start with people who are also going through what I'm going through as an entrepreneur. So finding that community and then starting to seek, and honestly, they've helped me Frank, you need to talk to this organization. So finding those organizations that still support the work that I do and that they do. Sam, you and I talked about that just earlier today, or it might have been yesterday, where it's finding those connections and those collaborations, because the work we do is hard, and that seems to be the easiest route, is then find those corporations, organizations that are doing that same work and still support it and make those relationships with them.
Yeah, relationships are where it's at.
Yeah, relationships for sure.
Well, we're a little bit nerdy about stewardship at the Cause Catalyst Co. Because that's something you can control and something you can do every day.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we have seen, and I also, in our work, we see a lot of fear and stress around asking and soliciting gifts.
Yep.
And I totally get that. I was that fundraiser. Some days I still am that fundraiser. I'm like, but usually I feel that fear when I know I'm having a conversation with a donor who has been neglected or not stewarded well.
Yeah.
And so I know that when I lean into stewardship, I know that it's the right thing for that person. I already talked about people are paramount, and treating people and helping them be seen and understood is part of our job as fundraisers.
Yes.
And so I would say stewardship is the thing to lean into. You might have lost government funding. You may have, your event may have not brought in the money you wanted it to.
Yeah.
But if you lean into stewardship, it doesn't cost a lot of money. It costs time and intention. And even if a person can't give an additional gift, when they can, they will.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you to all of our experts who joined us on the stage at the Nonprofit Storytelling Conference.
The Fundraising Elevator is produced by Swaim Strategies at the studios of the AV department. The program is produced and directed by Steve Osborne, with audio engineering and original music by Dwayne Anderson and Heidi Christensen. Video production by John Collier. Graphic design by Pendulum Creative Group. And voiceover by Josh Boykin.
Friends, before we leave you, we want to ask for your help to make the podcast grow. If you enjoyed what you heard today, please follow, subscribe to the Fundraising Elevator. And if you're getting a lot out of the show, please share it with a friend and leave a review. These things help make sure that the podcast continues heading up. Thank you so much for tuning in.
Are you ready to engage supporters and grow your base with your own podcast? Then let us introduce you to our partners at the AV department in Portland, Oregon. In addition to delivering exceptional live event audiovisual production and videography, they also have a top-tier production studio and an expert team ready to take your content ideas to the next level. Contact the AV department to schedule a consultation and start bringing your podcast vision to life.